On today's show, we make lots of mistakes.
Stop!
We end up with some parts left over.
While I was clearing up a little bit, I found it and I was like, what was this for? Hi and welcome to RCKicks. On today's show we're building the brand new kit from Schumacher. That's the front wheel drive Mission FT. Shouldn't be too long, should be quite an easy build hopefully. I'm really looking forward to finding out what kind of precision is like on this car. Now I've built a few Schumacher kits, the XLS and the Top Cat. So this being like a brand new kit, it'll be interesting to see whether the precision of build is the same as the vintage stuff, or whether it's on the same sort of level that you'd expect from brand new cars. So it's a bit of a new one for me, and I've never built a front wheel drive car and never driven a front wheel drive car, so it should be easy. I don't see there being too much difficulty in building it. I still need to pick up some wheels and tires, but I can use some old ones that I've got for now. Right, let's lay it out and crack on. Right, so we kick off on page 2 and we stop with the bottom chassis plate, and step 1, that's this little one here, which is to do with the rear gearbox mountings by the look of it. So let's crack on and see how this goes.
Now this kit comes as a front wheel drive, but there is a U8111 conversion to turn this into a 4-wheel drive kit. Now when Schumacher developed this kit, they knew from the beginning that they were going to offer it as a 4-wheel drive as well as a front wheel drive, because the front and rear U8069 is exactly the same. So the parts U8069 that you see me fitting here are used at the rear. Now for a budget kit, it's great to see the U8096 pulley I'm working on here is actually an alloy. I did have an issue mounting the spur gear, but I'll come to that later. Now the kit chassis you see here is U3601. Now Schumacher Racing are offering an upgrade to a CF chassis, which is U8105. As this kit is so new, it's not available as of this video, but you're looking at about £49. Nice to see in a budget kit like this that you get a full set of bearings and the diff gears are all alloy. For shimming the diff, Schumacher supply 2 U4177 shims in the kit. I found that just fitting one was perfect. In the 4-wheel drive conversion for this car, I'm pretty sure the diff that would be put in the rear will be exactly the same.
I've got a ton of gravel in my shoes, world on my shoulders, a heart full of blues, and in the dirt, down in the dirt.
Now you're about to see me make my first mistake with this diff. I left out the U4177 gaskets before I sandwiched the diff. You are now watching me make the second mistake on the diff, but we'll come to that later. Oh bless, he's a clever boy. He figured out you need gaskets when you fill up a diff full of oil. Yep, there I go, making that second mistake yet again. We'll come to that. I don't know if Schumacher is going to offer a diff upgrade for this car. I didn't find anything in the upgrade section in the manual. Being that the gears are alloy straight out of the box, it's probably not necessary.
So we've got the front diff in. Yeah, that was a bit of a challenge to say the least. Mainly because of my own stupidity. I actually put the diff together, and when I connected the top and the bottom section, there's 4 bolts that hold it in. If you rotate it slightly, it lines up with 4 other smaller holes, and then when you put the screws in, you blow through the other side. Now, while I'm building a kit, I'm also thinking about filming and shots and stuff like that. Now, when you work on things like Tamiya kits and Kyosho kits, you're doing something. If you're doing something wrong, you feel it. Things don't start to go, it binds more, or it doesn't go in really smoothly. So you kind of stop and go check and go, oh, it's the wrong screw, or oh, that's the wrong hole, or something like that. But on Schumacher kits, every screw is difficult to get in and tie and things like that. So you can't really judge that. So you can do up a screw perfectly well, and then the same amount of effort you put into another screw, you just blow through a piece of plastic. Didn't even know. But when I was screwing them up, I was doing all 4, and I blew through all 4. Now the problem is the diff is an oil diff. So I couldn't just leave the holes, because if you fill it up with oil, once it starts spinning, I'm sure oil will start coming out of those little holes. So I had a quick look online, and I can't buy one yet. So the kit's brand new. So I had the idea that I took an O-ring, cut it into 4 pieces, pushed it down into the hole, and then I glued the hole full so that it would actually be a solid lump. Now those other holes don't do anything. So I was a bit worried about them, but then also when you mate the 2 faces together, it actually seals those holes up pretty much anyway. So by doing that and mating it up, it should be fine. I will see if I can find another one, just purely as next time I'll change it, or if there's actual diff upgrade for this car, then I'll probably just spend the extra and get a diff upgrade. So if anybody knows that the diff in this car is the same as another Schumacher car that's got a metal upgrade or something, let me know and I'll spend the extra. It's only that one side of the casing, so everything inside works and everything like that, so it's just changing the casing to a metal case or something. But I haven't done any research. Don't, stupid. See, we all make mistakes. Man, you just have to roll with it. Right, what's next? We move on to page 7, and we're now moving on to the front bulkhead, I think, or the back bulkhead arms. I'm not sure. That's step 11. Right, let's keep going. Oh.
You can call me stupid. Yes, you can call me
Schumacher offer 2 ways to connect the anti-roll bar to the arms. It gives you the choice of U1919, which is a small mount, but also you get a longer mount. I personally stuck with the default myself.
'Cause I won't break, no, I know I won't wait. You're in trouble,
The rear shock mount you see me working on here is the Kit U4218. Schumacher offer an upgrade to a CF part, which is U8107.
But when it comes to her, you better keep it sealed. Don't you dare say a single word, or I will strike you where it feels. You think that using her will get to me, and if you're right, then you're in trouble, D. 'Cause I won't break, no, I know I won't.
Right, the front and rear bulkhead are now on. Nothing super special there, pretty easy. Just make sure you put them the right way round, because putting it the wrong way round means you've got to take it off and turn it round. Not that's what I did. But yeah, there we go. The only other thing that I had that I forgot to mention in the last clip, This center wheel, which is going to be your drive wheel of the motor, I assume, there's actually a screw that goes through and it holds it to this point. Now if you nip this up too tight, it binds. The back plate actually touches this upright. Now there's a bearing in there, but the bearing is slightly too thin, because you think the bearing would keep this back plate away from this arm, but it actually touches. So if you do it up, it crimps it really tight. So you can lock this completely, even though it's on bearings, which is a bit weird. So the way I kind of got around it was I put some Loctite on that bolt, I did it up, and then I backed it off gently while turning it until I got to the point where it freewheels, and then I just left it so that the Loctite will lock that in eventually. But you wouldn't want to leave it without Loctite on it. It would just unloose and fall out because it's not tight at all. So it's a bit of a strange one, that. I don't quite understand. I did it 3 times to try and figure out why that you don't just do it up nice and tight and then it free spins on there. And if anyone's built one of these, put in the comments, because that was a bit of a strange one. Right, apart from that, now we move on to step 18, page 11, which is the lower arm. Right, let's carry on.
When you're fitting the lower arm bars U2478, you have to push them all the way in, otherwise you can't fit the U2450. It won't line up with the hole. I used a pair of pliers and then I just pushed the rod in as far as I could. Schumacher offer 3 options for the ball screw mounts. The kit ones I'm using here, which is U3469. There's a Pro version, which is U4274, and then there's a titanium set, which is CR280. When you fit the bearings into the hubs, don't forget to fit the U2153 spacer. This is not what you normally see in Tamiya kits, but it's required in this kit.
So that's all 4 arms done. They're a bit stiff, and you need to set the screw so that you set the lower position, but 2 of the 4, it doesn't actually sit low, it kind of comes back up again, so I'm not too sure about that. Like that one feels nice and fluid. This one is much stiffer and doesn't go all the way down, and when I push it down it comes back up again, but the other one is on the... So I'm not quite sure about those, but we'll keep going anyway. The only other thing, when you fit the front hexes, it says to put the band on and then put the hex on. You're better off putting the elastic band on afterwards and feeding it over the whole hex. That's what I found from that point of view. Apart from that, no other issues. I'm not sure how tight or how loose the belt should be, but I can adjust it later on. I keep thinking that this is the back and that's the front, but obviously front wheel drive, that's the front. Right, next we got to do the turnbuckles, and then we're moving on to the servo. So let's carry on. It's starting to get there. I've dug out some old tyres, so that'll do me for now. Let's carry on.
The idea here is you use a bolt with 3 washers to pull the U7689 into the part. Then you've got a captive nut embedded in the part itself. Unfortunately, in this kit you have to use a half-height servo. You cannot fit a full height as the main steering arm passes between the front belt. so the angle would be too steep and it would rub on the belt if you used a full size servo. You can upgrade the servo kit assembly U7738, U8093. Schumacher offer a few options depending on if you're using a Sanwa or Futaba. The alloy offset servo 23T is CR465 and the Futaba is CR466. The kit top deck that you see me fitting here, which is U7792, can be upgraded to a CF part under U8106. The four-wheel drive conversion U8111 for this chassis still utilises the original top deck. It will accept the rear belt tensioner without any modification.
And there we go, that's the chassis done. I've still got to do the suspension. That's what's next, is to do the dampers. One thing I didn't realise is this car demands a half height servo. I was pretty sure I ordered one, but I, for the life of me, can't remember. And I don't think I got it, so I'll have to source another one. So that's next. So I've put it all in, so it's just sitting there waiting for it. After I put the top deck on, I realised that you can get access to put a servo in later, so it's not the end of the world. So next is the dampers. Luckily, you don't need the traditional pin clip pliers like you do for the retro stuff, so they shouldn't be too difficult. Right, let's keep going.
I'm running out of time, every day goes by so fast, and every moment counts, baby,
I don't recommend using normal pliers on a shock shaft. I am here. Schumacher recommends an AM190031 shock shaft pliers.
The chassis is done. I've just set up the shorty pack, so you've got lots of different options. You can run a full stick pack in this, but since I've got the shorty pack from the Top Cat, I set it up to use that because having one battery for one car is a bit of a shame. I fit a Futaba R203GF receiver. I'll use my Futaba transmitter. I'm not sure what motor and electronic speed controller to run in this car. Put a comment below if you've got any recommendations of what would actually work well in this. I honestly don't know. I don't have many cars like this, so I honestly don't know. Maybe a hobby wing or something. I honestly don't know. A few issues I had when I was building the shocks. There's these little tiny foam like donuts that you have to put over this sort of a rod bit. I'll put an image up here of what it's like and the part number, and it warns you that they split. Oh yes, do they split? And there's not a single spare one, so a bit of a not too great from Schumacher. They should at least give you 4 or 5 extras. It's a little bit of foam and they know it splits, so where I had a couple of splits I had to put a few drops of super glue in it to fix it. It seems to be working okay and all the suspension's great, but a few extra ones would have been easy just to remove the split ones and put those on. What else? I made one other mistake. Yeah, there's quite a few in this build. There's a support bracket that goes inside here. When I put the mount on, I've just left it off completely. When I was clearing up a little bit, I found it and I was like, what is this for? And then I rummaged through the manual and eventually I found it. So I had to take the bumper back off to fit that, but it's only 2 screws, so it was not the end of the world. Right, what's next? Well, we've got to cut out the body, we've got to line it up, and I've got to make the holes for the body posts and make sure it sits okay. Also, I need to pick up some tyres and rims, so if you've got any recommendations of what I should put on this, put in the comment section as well. Right, let's cut it out. Oh, one other thing, the review. Now, building it, not so bad, pretty good. I wouldn't say it was a big leap forward from the top cap that I built from Schumacher not so long ago. So I still think even today Schumacher kits aren't quite up there, especially Kershaw is probably the highest, then you've got Tamiya just a little bit below, and then you've got Schumacher quite a bit further down. I get the feeling that Schumacher really focuses about track and performance. That's the highest level for them. So when they're making the cars, they're probably working on weight and weight distribution, and they're going more that way. So still struggled to get some of the screws in. I did make another mistake with the gearbox or diff, where I put it turned slightly and I put the screws through, but that was more my fault, not Schumacher's fault at all. So I can recommend building one of these. This is obviously an entry level buggy for Schumacher. Well, it's not really a buggy, is it? It's a touring car, whatever you want to call it. So it's an entry level one. There's lots of upgrades for this as well. So if you're going to get into this sort of thing and you're going to go racing, this is probably definitely the thing for you. So yeah. Okay, let's carry on and cut out the body.
Check out one of these videos for some more RC fun.